people coming in.
If you're just coming in, find a seat, grab a clicker, and we're going to get started shortly.
She'll cover how to do that.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming to the 2020 Louisiana Fisheries Forward Summit. Today we're going to have the Fishing for the Future, which is an interactive panel. My name is Nicole Lundberg, and I'm the Louisiana Fisheries Specialist for Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes with the Louisiana Sea Grant and LSU Ag Center. And what's the focus of this session? Well, you may have heard a couple terms. First term, aging of the fleet. And that just refers to an increase over time in the average age of our vessels. You may have also heard a related term, graying of the fleet. So when we talk about graying of the fleet, we're talking about the increase in the average age of fishermen over time. And that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to talk about the economic viability and how that affects workforce development. This is a concern for our commercial fishing industry across the United States, but is a priority here in Louisiana. We could talk about all the factors that relate to it, but we're not going to talk about those all day. But some of the factors that influence are foreign imports, rising input costs, regulatory pressure, and environmental change. But we're going to go on because all this really relates to the decreasing number of commercial fishermen in Louisiana. In the late 80s, we had around 28,000 commercial fishermen registered and licensed in Louisiana. This has continuously declined over the decades, with in 2019 about 10,000 commercial fishing licenses. So when we talk about graying of the fleet, how gray is the fleet? Well, in 2000, the typical shrimp fisherman was around 43 years of age. Over the next 20 years, their typical shrimp fisherman's age has increased from 43 years to 54. We see this trend for the other species as well. In oysters, in 2000, typical oyster fisherman was 39 years old, with an increase to the age of 45 years over the last 20 years. For crab, we see the same, increase from 40 years old to 50. And an increase from 42 years of age for wild crawfish to 52 years of age. So what's the format of this session? Well, we have limited time to address the major challenges and identify our possible solutions. We won't get it all done today, but we have our moderated panel discussion, and at this time I'd like to introduce our panel. Next to me, we have Earl Melanson of Louisiana Sea Grant, and he'll be our moderator. We have Patrick Banks, the Assistant Secretary of Fisheries for Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Julie Lively, who is our Fisheries Specialist at Louisiana Sea Grant and the LSU Ag Center. We have Angela Porche of Faith Family Shrimp out of Cocodrie, Louisiana. We have Rodney Olander, who is a commercial fisherman and former chairman of the Louisiana Shrimp Task Force. Next, we have Charlene DeLong of Tommy's Seafood out of New Orleans. Angie Bui from Vermilion Gulf out of Abbeville. And at our end, but last but not least, we have Stephen Boisin of Motivated Seafood located in Houma, Louisiana. However, in addition to our fantastic panel, we also want your input. We want to hear from you and what you think about the topics that we're going to cover. So, if you are a fisherman, a seafood-related business in the private sector who works in Louisiana, please make sure you have a clicker. If you don't have a clicker, please raise your hand, and Dr. Caffey will get you a clicker. We're going to have interactive polling questions.
And also vessel owners, captains, deckhands.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, so if you're a vessel owner, a captain, a deckhand, dealer, if you work at a marina, a dock, if you're a processor or retailer, or you supply or have anything to do with it, please get a clicker.
Hey, did you want us to have a clicker?
No, you get to talk. You can get a clicker. You want one?
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, I don't know if she wanted one, so I'll make sure course. I'm not going to discriminate against you since you're up here. Okay. Absolutely.
So now that you have the clickers, you may be wondering, how do I use the clickers? Well, we have 14 multiple choice questions. Those are our polls. So we're going to open the polls for about 30 seconds. When I open a poll, a picture associated with the question will pop up on the screen. That's when you know it's a time to vote. After you vote, I'm going to have the audience results portrayed on the screen. You're going to vote by pressing one of the black buttons on the clickers. Those are the A through J buttons. Don't touch the white buttons because it resets the clickers and makes them gives them a hard time. When you vote, a green light will flash if it's during an open polling period. If you were to press the buttons now, you would get a red light. If you see a red light, your vote didn't count. So, as long as the poll is open, you can change your answer if you decide you didn't like the first answer you inputted. Once I close the polls, then voting is done. We have a couple practice questions just so you can get used to the clickers before we go into the meat of the presentation. So for our first practice question, how old are you? So if you see the pictures up, the poll is now open. For this question, I want you to choose one answer. And your options are A, you're under 30 years old. B, 31 to 44 years old. C, 45 to 59 years old. D, over 60. So I'll give you a few minutes. If you see the green light, your vote counted.
How many you get in there so far?
So right now we have 55 people in the audience who've responded to this poll. If you haven't responded and you want to, do it now because I'm going to be closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. All right. So it looks like we have a nice even spread with the majority of people in the audience somewhere around 45 to 59 years old. Got a few people coming in. Grab a clicker if you're in the fishing industry or commercial seafood. So moving on for practice question number 2. Why did you come to the Louisiana Fisheries Forward Summit?
Free food.
The poll is now open. And for this question, you can select all the options that apply to you. So if all of them apply, select all of them. Your options are A, came for fishing technology. B, fishing regulations. C, business opportunities. D, free admission. Or E, other. And again, for this one, we have about 55 people responded. I'm going to give you a few more seconds to respond if you haven't already yet.
And they can change their answer while it's open, right?
Well, this one is pick all that apply.
Pick all that.
All right. I'm going to be closing the poll. Going once. Going twice. Oh, we got another one. All right, poll closing. So it looks like it's pretty evenly spread. People come for information on fishing technology, regulations, and business opportunities. Few people came for other reasons. So the last practice question. How far did you travel to get here today? Poll is open. And for this question, please choose only one answer. You traveled A, less than 25 miles. B, 25 to 50 miles. C, 51 to 75 miles. D, 76 to 100 miles. Or E, you drove more than 100 miles to get here.
Might leave it up a little bit longer. We have a few that just showed up. Reiterate the voting on the black buttons.
Yeah. So for anybody who just walked in, you vote with the black buttons. And as long as the picture's up, you can vote. When the picture goes down, voting is closed. All right, I'm closing the polling. I'm going to give you a couple more seconds to vote if you haven't already. All right, going once, going twice. Pretty even distribution. Looks like quite a few people drove from a fair distance to get here. Thank you for coming today. So now that we've gotten the practice, we're going to ask you a few background questions to see who is in the audience. So for our first background question, what business category best describes your job in the commercial seafood sector? The poll is open. Please choose one answer. Are you A, a commercial fisherman, B, a dock or buyer, C, a seafood processor, D, a seafood retailer, E, a charter captain, or F, other? Now I know some of you may do different jobs within the industry. Please choose the one that best describes your job. All right, looks like we got just about all the respondents. Going once, going twice. All right, closing the poll. So it looks like we have quite a few commercial fishermen, a couple docks and buyers, some seafood processors, retailers, and a couple other people who are in the audience. Moving on to question number 5. Which fishery accounts for most of your commercial activity? The poll is open. Choose one answer. Again, for this one, I know some of you probably work with multiple species. Choose the one that is the majority of your business. Is it A, shrimp, B, oysters, C, crabs, D, finfish, E, crawfish, or F, none of the above? Alright, see if we give those people in the back a few more. Alright. I'm going to close the poll in a few seconds. So if you want to answer and you haven't yet, please get your answer in. Alright, go once, going twice. Alright, so it looks like we have 74% of people here deal mostly with shrimp, but we have a pretty even distribution among the others with some oystermen, some crabbers, and some finfish guys and crawfish in the audience. That's awesome that you guys are here. For question number 6, in what Louisiana coastal area, what basin does most of your business activity occur? The poll is open. Again, we're going to ask you to choose one answer, although I know some of you probably fish multiple basins. Which basin do you mostly fish out of or do business in? Is it A, Calcasieu Sabine, B, Vermilion or Cote Blanche, C, Terrebonne Tambelier, D, Barataria, E, east of the Mississippi River, or F, none of the above? Alright, got a few more votes coming in. If you haven't voted, please vote. Okay, looks like we have all the votes in. I'll be closing the poll in 1, 2, 3. So it looks like we have a pretty even distribution. We've got quite a few out of the Terrebonne area. We've got a few people, east of Terrebonne and Barataria and east of the Mississippi River, and quite a few out of Vermilion or Cote Blanche. So now that we know a little bit about who's in the audience, we're going to start moving on to the status of our industry and the challenges we face within our industry. So, for question number 7, please tell me which of these factors had the greatest economic burden on your area of the fishing industry, or of the seafood industry. The poll is open. Please choose one answer. have a few more votes coming in. If you haven't voted, please do so now. All right, poll closing, going once, going twice. So according to you guys, you think a lot of it is the greatest burden is imports and environmental change, with some of you agreeing that operating costs and regulations also cause some issues. Moving on to the next question. I want your opinion in your own words. Please finish this sentence. When it comes to new business startups in my area of the fishing industry, I see, the poll is now open. Please choose one answer. You see much more new businesses, slightly more new businesses, C, no change, D, slightly less new businesses, or E, much less new businesses. As of right now, we have 65. Waiting on a few more. All right, if you haven't answered, please answer now. I'll be closing the poll in a few seconds. All right, going once, going twice. So many of you think that you see slightly less or much less new business startups in your area of the fishing industry. We do see some people that say they see more or no change. Moving on to question number 9. Please finish this in your own words. When I look around the industry, I see that most of the fishing boats in my region are run by, and please choose one answer. The poll is open. Are the boats run by A, older fishermen, B, younger fishermen, C, about the same, or D, you are unsure? All right. Good. I think we have 74 respondents. So I'm going to be closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. All right. So a lot of you see older fishermen captaining and running the boats. A few of you say you see some younger guys running the boats, and a few of you think they're about equal amounts or about the same. So now that we've talked a little bit about the challenges in the industry, I'm going to turn it over to Earl and our panel and let them discuss those topics.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. The way this is going to work, the panel is going to discuss, in this case, the last 3 questions that you answered. And then we'll have a few more questions, and then the panel will come back again. And my role in this is just to moderate and essentially be the keeper of the time. I'm the bouncer in case there's just too much gap going on. Also, just to remind the panel members, all of these mics are live, everyone on your table. So if you have a good Thibodeau Boudreaux joke, make sure you put it loud and clear into the mic. If not, don't have your own conversation, okay? If you look at those first 3 questions, what we're dealing with right now is just looking at the status of our fisheries in Louisiana and some of the challenges. And those first 3 questions dealt with that. And just reviewing the answers, obviously, imports was quite a large number for some of the challenges. We also had less people getting into the business and also older fishermen. So what I'm going to do right now is just ask our panel from their firsthand perspective, give us an insight as to why these challenges are and what data we're seeing from the audience. Why is it like that? Let me also, before you answer, it's important to understand that we're videoing and documenting this so that it will be given to for Louisiana Sea Grant, be on its website eventually, and it's still documented so that, you know, the world runs on paper. So everyone needs to have documentation, and that's what this is about, this whole session. So I'm going to turn it over to the panel, and any panel member who would like to begin can. Just bring the mic to you and speak directly into it, please. And would you state your name as you go?
Okay, I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Rodney Olander.
Hold that mic a little closer, right? Thank you.
Yes, I said my name is Rodney Olander, and I'm looking here at question 7, and most everyone agrees that imports and environmental change. The imports, the problem we have with imports right now in the last couple of years is as a country, we've been consuming 1.2 to 1.3 billion pounds of shrimp a year. On the imports, we import 1.5 to 1.6 billion pounds. So that's a 200 to 300 million pound surplus every year that's sitting in freezers before we go out and catch our first shrimp. So these imports is definitely a big problem. I'm on the Louisiana Shrimp Task Force. This past January, we went to Washington. We spoke with our congressmen, our senators. We presented a solution of how they can test more shrimp. If they test more shrimp, you can ban a lot of the shrimp that comes in. Over in Europe, what they do is if they test shrimp and they have these antibiotics or chemicals that they're not supposed to have in the shrimp are destroyed right there on the spot. Over in the United States, if we test some shrimp and they have illegal chemicals or if they have antibiotics in the shrimp, we give the product back. And then right now there's a 0.1% is being tested. So we give the shrimp back, they're put on the ship, it goes over to the next port, and there's a 99.9% chance it won't get tested a second time. So we told our congressmen and our senators this, look, this is the plan. You need to get a bill in here to where they can test more shrimp. If they test with illegal chemicals or antibiotics, we need these shrimp, you need to have them destroyed. Congressman Higgins, he went a step further. He's trying to push that if a company from a certain country brings shrimp in and they're caught cheating, more or less, that country, not the company, but the country as a whole would be banned for 6 months from importing any shrimp into our country, which I doubt if it flies. It's real strong, but as most of y'all know, in Washington, it don't work like that. Nothing moves fast in Washington. This is 2 years in a row we went with the exact same plan, and not a lot is happening. I was just there last week. I went and spoke with some of the same congressmen and senators, and they assured me they are working on some things. They wouldn't give me a whole bunch of details, but they are working on it. So that's all I want to say right now for imports. I'm going to give somebody else a chance. Environmental change, of course, I know the last few years, the high rivers, that's been hurting the shrimping industry tremendously. So other than that, like I said, I'll turn the mic over to someone else that may want to add to it.
If you want to add to that, or I have a question too. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Sure.
Sean.
Right. If Shalon DeLon, I'll add to that. I think that Rodney made some great points. And talking about the surplus of imports, the other thing that you have to look at is that when you have this surplus, and that number is growing, more farms overseas are getting in business. So in the other part of the world, the shrimp industry is growing. And they're looking to us as the dumping ground for all of this product. So what ends up happening is we get this buildup in product that's growing and growing coming into the United States, and the prices of that product have to come down in order to sustain that. So we see this suppression of domestic prices because as more imported shrimp comes into the market, the prices of all of the shrimp has to get lower. And then you combine that with the rise in operating costs. Just for us alone, our utilities are up 10% this year from last year, government utilities. our taxes are up way more than 10% compared to last year, and so I think that there's a lot of these factors here, even though there might be one that we perceive as greater than the other. The truth is that we're getting hit with multiple burdens from the imports, operating costs, regulations, environmental changes, and many others. So there are members in this audience that played a key role in getting this seafood labeling law passed through the legislature, and I think that was a step in the right direction. The Lieutenant Governor has passed a seafood inspection fee on all imports that come into the country, a resolution amongst the National Lieutenant Governors Association that I know that he's speaking with our congressional delegation about, trying to get something like that on the federal level. And I think that there's slight progress that's being made, but we need a collaborative effort to really tackle all of these issues. And I was telling somebody just yesterday that I feel like more often than not, the seafood industry gets left behind in a lot of the opportunities for advancement that other industries get. And so it's been a good thing in a way if you're trying to look at it from an optimistic perspective, to where it's created something inside of us. I'm 30 years old, I have my brother who's a little bit younger than me in the audience, and it's created something inside of us, this resilience, this need to continue on. And so I think that that same spirit carries with a lot of the people in this industry, which is why we're here today. And if it wasn't for the heart of the fishermen, the heart of the people in this industry, then we'd probably be in much worse shape than we're in today.
Thank you, Sean and Rodney. I can tell you that some of what they touched on, we have some questions further on where you'll have the opportunity to elaborate even more so on those. So these questions. Let me ask, while I've got the panel here, I looked at questions 8 and 9, and I look at the fact that just as we showed on the graph, most of the people in the audience were in that 40 to 50, 55 range. In your personal businesses, do you see many young people coming in to the business? I look at this and I'm seeing that 76% say it's just older fishermen. Only 8% said that there was any younger fishermen coming into the business. And I look at Steve Wazne on the end with oysters. I look at Andy Wee, and I look at Angela there, and I see that all three of you rely very much on the fishermen bringing that commodity to you. So can you talk a little bit about that? Is there a fear that you're seeing just an aging fishery and you don't have the people coming into your business? Anybody would like to speak to that?
Yes, I'm Stephen Boaz, I'm Motivated Seafoods. And through the years, we started 50 years ago. And at that time, I think all fisheries were exciting. There was a big marketing push throughout the states to promote our products because it was not an easy sell at that time. But as the years went by, more and more money came to the seafood industry in promotion. They developed the Seafood Promotion Marketing Board and other factors that really helped our industries, oysters in particular, as what I do. But as the years went by, the industry has changed. The production levels have, they varied throughout the years, but of late, due to environmental concerns such as, the fresh water, the river, high river levels, of course, but the freshwater diversions, there are certain breaches in the river that need to be plugged, which are not, that continue to feed fresh water into the estuaries, killing our oysters, moving the shrimp, the crabs, the other fisheries around somewhat, and or desperately. And so the young person today looking into this industry, no matter shrimp, no matter what, if he's not with his father or his uncle, he's got a tough road to toe to stay with it and be enthused about it due to all of these factors. So they do come because there's always interest in being outdoors, working hard, wanting to do something on your own, but I don't see many of them staying because there's not much future that they can see at this point. Thank you.
My name is Angela Porche, Cocodrie, Louisiana. I have 2 sons, and one of my baby son, we would have these 30-minute drives to school every morning, and I was like, okay, you sure you want to do this, Chad? You sure? Mom, I want to do it, you know. I tried to talk him out of it like 50 times, and it's not happening. The kid sees a future in it. He sees funds. He sees freedom. He sees things that maybe I don't see, you know. So that's what gives me the heart and the passion to continue and to just see where we can improve, how we can improve, how we can promote, you know, how we can get better in every area of the industry. So that's why I'm here. My kids want to do it.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to say? Okay. Let me also state that we're going to try to have these sessions break out like this, anywhere from 10, maybe 15 minutes. Unfortunately, we do have to move on to the next questions. Julie Lively and Patrick Banks sitting up here, what we asked them to do was to primarily listen and give them the opportunity later to have remarks. But also at any time, if something strikes you that you need to say, certainly you say it. But so they're not just sitting up here like turtles on a log. We kind of gave them instructions to just sit here and to listen. But if something strikes them, have at it. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Earl. So moving on to question number 10. I want to ask you in the audience, in the main business that you work for, where does most of the labor come from? So the poll is open, and choose one answer. Is it A, me alone, B, my family and me, C, other U.S. citizens, D, foreign workers, or E, you were unsure? I apologize. Okay. I'm resetting the poll. I clicked 1 too many times. The poll is now open. So if you responded, please respond again. Got about 60 responses. Okay. All right. We've got most of the responses. I'm going to be closing the poll in a few seconds. Going once, going twice. All right. So it looks like we still have a good majority of you who work with you and your family, while we have others that work alone, or some that work with other U.S. citizens, and some businesses or that work with foreign workers. Moving on to question 11. What are the top concerns that you see in recruiting quality workers for your area of the seafood and fishing industry? The poll is open. Please choose for this question all that apply. Is it A, a lack of applicants, B, experience and knowledge, C, work ethic and reliability, D, language and immigration, E, wage costs, F, insurance, or G, other? We got almost all of the responses. Give you a few more seconds. Going once, going twice. And it looks like the distribution of what you think is that our concerns are spread widely. Looks like we have lack of applicants and experience and knowledge, work ethic and reliability. There are a few people that say there are other issues. So if you want to let us know what you think those are, find me after the panel. Moving on to question number 12. What is the most likely thing to become of your business if you or your boss stops working? The poll is open. Please choose one answer. Would the business A pass to a family or a child? Would it B, sell quickly? C, it would sell, but it would sell slowly? D, it would close without selling? Or E, you are unsure? Looks like we have most for the responses, 71 responses, but give you a few more seconds. All right, closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. So quite a few of you said it would pass to your family or a child. Some people think it would sell, and it's split about evenly between sell quickly and sell slowly. Some businesses would close without selling. And a couple of you are unsure of what would happen. Okay. So now again, once again, I'm going to turn it over to Earl and the panel.
Thank you again, Nicole. We're still working with the status and challenges. Now we're looking at labor, recruitment into the industry, and business succession. And that's what we're going to focus on. When we look at the answers, it became obvious that when we look at what are the top concerns, it was work ethic and reliability, and then experience, knowledge, and lack of applicants. When we take a look at the labor force, most of it is family or you alone. And then when it's time to pass the business on or to sell, 31% said pass it on. And then it was evenly split between sell it quickly or sell it slowly. So having these kind of answers, I'm going to turn it over to the panel again to kind of give us your insight as to why you think these responses were such. Anybody want to begin? Everybody spoke the first time. All right, go ahead. And again, Angela, if you don't mind, each time we do this, since we're recording this, in case the video doesn't come out quite right, say your name, please.
I just think you have to have the right person for the job.
Say your name.
Oh, sorry, Angela Porche. Sorry, Angela Porche. I just think you have to have the right person for the job. Like if it's either a boat or a business, retail market, factory, dock, whatever you have to have the right person. And I think that person mainly has to be brought up into the business. I think it'd be hard for somebody like an outsider just to come and take over. So it comes with trust. You know, other people have to trust you. And I just think it's more just of a family thing, the whole seafood industry. So I don't know. What do y'all think?
Rodney Olander. Actually, I needed to answer both A and B on me alone and my family. Me. For years, I've always worked my skiff by myself, but luckily here in the last 5-6 years, my wife retired, and now she's with me on the boat somewhat. And well, that's not exactly a good thing all the time. But, she does work with me, and I do appreciate it, and I really look forward to having her with me. And the reason being, mostly because with the price of our product, we can't afford to hire anyone else. You either have to take your spouse with you, or a family member, or worst case scenario, like I used to do a lot, you do it alone. Like I say, and the majority of the reason is we're not getting a price for our product. And that's the main reason why you see those answers that you're seeing. Thank you.
I don't have anything too elaborate to comment on, other than my opinion of
Shall?
it's Shallon DeLon. My opinion, as far as the question as it relates to the labor, would be that experience can be learned over time, and knowledge can be taught. And we've had good success with that philosophy in our business. Several of the people that have chosen to get into this business and become managers or supervisors in our plant, we've brought in from other parts of the country, from Arkansas, from Georgia, from Michigan, and invested a lot of time and resources. And the only way that actually would hold true is for the second part of this to be true, and that's with the work ethic and the reliability to be there. So that's the end of the bargain that I think the other party has to hold up. That's what we've had the most trouble with, is finding people with good work ethic that are dependable and reliable. So if you don't have that, it doesn't really matter how much experience you have or how knowledgeable you are.
Thank you, Shallon. Anyone else would like to comment on this? I have a question then for the panel. I look at question number 12, when you were succession of a business. We have over 50% of the respondents either said slowly sell, not sell, and close, or unsure. That's disturbing to think that over half of the people in the audience, the respondents, said weren't quite sure what would happen to their business. My question is, in the old days, when I was a young biologist, quite often the fishermen would sell because that was part of their retirement. In other words, being able to pass it on to the family member or pass it on to someone else outside of the family was part of your retirement income, so that you could live a little more comfortably. But if 50% are saying that, or more are saying that it's not possible, what is that saying about the future of those who want to retire?
Rodney Olander. You're absolutely right. I answered A only because it's probably wishful thinking. I don't know why I'd want to do that to my son, but anyhow, I answered A. Do you sell it quickly or sell it slowly? There should have been another option, sell it period, because right now, with the way the industry is going, these boats, it's getting to be where it's almost, you can't hardly sell them at all. It's almost impossible to give a boat away. And like you said earlier, it used to be that the fishermen, they would work, they'd hold on to the boat, they'd keep their boats in real good shape, and then when they were ready to retire, they would sell their boats, they would get a decent price for it, and that would be their little nest egg to help them along in their retirement days. And like I say, today, the way things are going, they say you're lucky to be able to sell a boat at all, and if you do sell it, believe me, you're getting pennies on a dollar. You're not getting nowhere near what the value of your boat is worth. So, like I say, one of the answers should have been, sell it at all. But like I said, it's getting extremely hard. And like I said, all this can turn around, and like I said, it's real easy. We have to cut the amount of imports coming in. If we can do that, our price of our product will come back up. And when that happens, believe me, this whole industry will change almost overnight. It can be done. Like I said, we work with our politicians. It's not impossible. It can be done, and like I said, it should be done if we want to save this industry. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Stephen Boston again. I just want to say that I'm truly blessed with a family that will take over my businesses in that process now. They're willing, they're capable, and I just feel really good about that. But I know everyone's not in the same position as I am in that regard. I did want to throw out what I understand about imports. It's affecting the oyster business as well as all other businesses. And what I found out, and just for your information, was that if I see a company that imports oysters, and they're a third of the price of what I'm able to, my cost, or half the price, much lower, what I would need to do is go to that country, and if I thought that they were just unloading product into the United States, I would have to build a case over there against them, proving that they were selling it at the price that they're offering it here in the States. And if they weren't, then I could build a case and go to court and hopefully get something done about it. Well, I don't know about anyone else, but I just don't have the time for that. We rely on our government for certain things, and that's the ruling, that's the action that needs to take place as I understand it. And so I just wanted you all to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else have anything they would like to add? All right, before I turn it back over, we do have a few more minutes, and I'm going to use the minutes wisely, I hope wisely. Going back to top concerns in recruiting quality workers for your area of the industry, 5% said insurance was an issue. I was a little surprised. I thought that might be a little higher. Do y'all have issues with insurance in terms of bringing someone on your boat or bringing someone into your processing facility that doesn't have the experience to be there? Or how does insurance play into your business?
Rodney Olander. Well, another reason why we keep family on the boat is because there's probably, I'd have to say, between 90 and 95% of the boats are uninsured. There is no insurance on it. Like I say, if we're struggling now to pay the bills, there's no way in hell we can afford to pay insurance on any of these boats. That's probably why you're seeing that number being 5% on insurance. Well, that's because nobody, I'm not going to say nobody, but I'm going to say the majority don't have insurance on their boats.
So it's a reflection of the economy.
Exactly.
What about processing plants? For any of you who have processing plants, how does insurance come into play? Anything you want to comment on that?
I think it's insurance as a whole. I mean, there's so many different kind of policies that you need to have: hazard insurance, property insurance, general liability, auto, workman's comp, and that's not getting any cheaper. So my cost of insurance, just auto insurance, doubled from the year prior. For no reason of our own, no fault of our own, because it's just the way that the state works. And so insurance plays a part, and the kind of hiring decisions that we make. Sometimes you get caught between hiring a quality worker, being able to afford that quality worker, the health insurance that goes along with that, should you offer that coverage, which of course we do. And sometimes those are the things that you have to do to be able to attract quality people. And like Rodney was saying, it doesn't reflect in the price that you're selling your product at. And so when you have these rising insurance costs, the rising wage of labor, the other things that you have to, the incentives that you have to provide to that labor, that ultimately you would hope you'd be able to recuperate in the price of the product that you sell. When that doesn't happen, then you have to go back to the drawing board and try to develop a new strategy. So the insurance does play a part, of course. I think that it's not one of those right in front of your face kind of expenses, but it's something that's on the back of our minds, and especially when it comes down to a decision-making process that has to do with bringing on new labor, employee bonuses, raises. I think that you have to factor in all of your expenses and overhead, not just insurance, but it certainly plays a role.
Okay, thank you. Anyone want to add anything to that? All right, Nicole, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Earl. Now at this time, I'd like to start switching gears and move from the status of the industry and our challenges to potential solutions and strategies. So for question 13, you, the audience, please answer. What government policies or programs offer the best chance for long-term growth in your sector? The poll is now open, and you can choose all that apply. So is it A, restricting imports, B, reducing regulations, C, government payments, and those are going to be payments that you don't have to pay back, D, low-interest loans, E, limiting entry to a specific fishery, or F, no intervention needed. So I think we have about all the responses that we're going to get. I'm going to give you a few more seconds. All right. Going once, going twice. Okay. So it looks like we're across the board. We've got some people think restricting imports, like Rodney had said. But also reducing regulations and government payments, and limiting entry to the specific fishery. Fewer people are interested in low-interest loans, but a few people don't think that no intervention is needed. Okay, moving on. For question number 14, which of the following is most likely to improve the profitability of businesses in your sector? The poll is open. And again, for this one, choose all the answers that you think apply. So we only have about 25 responses, with more coming in. So yeah, do you think A, better business planning, B, improving product quality, C, direct marketing to the public, D, value-added products, E, pursuing new species, F, either expansion or consolidation of your markets, or G, improved marketing? We're still waiting on a couple responses. All right, give you a few more seconds to respond. If you haven't, please answer. All right, closing the poll. Going once, going twice. Wow, so a lot of you think better marketing would help improve the profitability of businesses. A few people, or a couple people said a little bit of everything would also help. Okay. At this time, we're going to let the panel talk about and discuss those questions. Turn it over to you, Earl.
Thank you again, Nicole. As Nicole stated, we're moving now into discussions of potential strategies and solutions. We've documented some of the major concerns in our industry. You've heard from the panel twice. Now we're looking at how government might be able to be part of a solution or at least a strategy, and also how to improve profitability of your business. And when I looked at how government could be part of this, only 4% said no intervention. So at some point, you're asking some type of help from the government in some way, whether it be a grant where you don't have to pay it back, low interest loans, but most of it was either reducing regulations or government payments. Okay, so we move from that to how can you improve your business, and 41% said improve marketing. Okay, so Understanding that, I'm going to turn it over to the panel, and we've got time to have a good discussion here if you like it. So if anyone wants to start this, they can.
Rodney Olander. I'm gonna go ahead and start with question 13. The first one was restricting imports. Okay, I spoke earlier about how when we went to Washington, what were some of the solutions. So saying that, I'm gonna move on to reducing regulations. Reducing regulations to TEDs. Everyone knows starting next year, all boats 40 foot and larger have to have TEDs in the skimmer boats. I don't know exactly why they want to do this. Well, we know why. They're pushing the saving of the turtles. But the program we got in place right now, the tow times, the 55 minutes, is working. They know it's working, but yet they're pushing more regulations on us. One of the questions that we ask a lot is what number do we need? They keep telling us they want to save the turtles. Sure, we're all on board with wanting to save the turtles. Okay, how many turtles do we need to save? They keep telling us every year they're getting more and more nesting sites. Okay, that's fine. How many nesting sites? What's that magic number? Well, we can't get any answers. No one has any answers on what's the magic number for saving the turtles. So when it comes to reducing regulations, that's one of the things that would help us. Next would be government payments. Of course, we'd all like to have government payments. Another thing that we had worked on when we went to Washington, we talked to them. As most of you know, there's a farm bill. It's a multi-billion-dollar farm bill that's passed every year to help the farmers. When we went up there this past January, we presented them a fish bill. We told them, why can't y'all get together and get a fish bill to help the fishermen? That way, in times of trouble, when there's a low market price, there can be subsidies that they can help the fishermen. It can set a basement of the price. If the price falls below a certain price, the subsidies would kick in. It would be real easy to pass, but of course, when you go to Washington, first thing you hear, we don't have any money. I hope you're not asking for money. Well, what in the world do you think we're up here for? We're up here for money. So, like I said, that's some of the things that can be done. Like I said, government payouts. I speak with a lot of fishermen that, that's my, oh Lord, I got my phone answering me now. I done lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, I was speaking with a lot of older fishermen. There's a lot of older fishermen who said, look, I don't know if I'm going to be in this business by the time there is a turnaround so that we can start making a profit again. They would love to see a government buyout. A lot of older fishermen say, look, come here, give me a buyout, and I'm done. Because right now, the census is, most fishermen, they see this industry, it's just slowly dying, and they're being drugged down with it. So if there was a buyout program, a lot of fishermen they say, well, at least I have this buyout. I can take this money. I'm not ready to retire, but I don't see a future. I'll take this money, I'll retire. It'll open up doors for other fishermen to get into it. So, like I said, that's just a couple of things that I was thinking. I don't want to take up all the time. I know Andy is just chomping at the bit. He's full of knowledge over there, and I know he's definitely wanting to say something. So I'm going to give Andy a chance to talk. Thank you.
Andy Bowie with Vermilion. Let me touch bases on number 14 to improve the marketing spectrum. Where I'm at, they have something called a Delcon Direct, where the fishermen comes and sell the product directly to the public, and it's doing pretty well over at Vermilion. I don't see it here, or do we have it here?
It's starting, it's here. It's not as strong and it's
really
as big as over there, Delcon.
Okay, yeah, so get into something like Delcon Direct. It will help the fishermen sell their product to the public rather than sell it to the dock to get penny on the dollar. And we sell it to the processor with nothing. So hopefully that will work out here in this parish.
Anyone want to comment or add to that? Or anything else?
Shalom Devon, I'll speak on question 14. So I think that all of these are good solutions, many of which we've implemented in our business, and many of which I've seen across the industry on every level of the industry, whether it's on the boats, turning into microprocessors, or processors getting into value-added products or new species. For us, I think this just brings it back to adapting to the circumstances that you're around. If you sit in the same pond every day, eventually that pond's going to get stagnant. And so we're always looking forward at what we have to do to stay ahead of the wave. For us, our most recent venture includes both consolidating and expanding. We have several facilities, one of which we're moving out of and selling to move into a smaller facility. So we're consolidating, and then we're also opening up a dock next month in Cameron Parish to be able to vertically integrate backwards and get one step closer to the source and improve our margins because of these increased overhead and other expenses.
Anyone want to add? Steve?
Stephen Boisian. I'd just like to touch on the A, which is better business planning. All I really want to say is that I think in the difficult climate of our businesses in the past 10 years and in the future for the next many years, I believe, it's certainly a good thing to have a good business plan, a good mind for it. But I think everyone in this room that's in the commercial fishing or processing business, you're here because you are a good business planner. And I'd like to congratulate you, all of you. It's not an easy industry. Of late, it's not going to be easy moving forward. And so I'd just like to encourage you to stay with it, do the best you can, and hopefully this meeting will be of benefit to our leaders or government or whomever it'll help. Thank you.
Anyone want to add anything more to that? Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
I have to add just one little thing to that. You had something you want to add, Andy? Did you say?
No, that was me.
Oh, go ahead.
Rodney O'Lander again. On question 14, I see a lot of people answer direct marketing to public. It's a good idea that you can sell your own product, you make more money. What a lot of people are forgetting is that when you take your product and you take it and you sell it yourself, and you're leaving out the dock buyer, you're leaving out the processor. I'm not either, I'm a fisherman, but I know how all this works. If I take my product and I bring it to market and I sell it, sure, I'll get more money, that's fine. What happens to the dock that I sell to? They're not buying my product, they're not buying my neighbor's product. It won't be long, they're out of business. That dock goes out of business. The processor that dock used to sell to, they're not getting the product. That processor goes out of business. Okay, big shrimp, quit running. Your small shrimp moves in. Okay, I'm going, okay, small shrimp. I come to the dock, well, where's the dock? It done closed. Where's the processor? It done closed. So direct marketing is a good thing, but it's a catch-22. There's got to be a balance, because you got to remember, you can't leave out the docks, you can't leave out the processors. We need all three for this industry to survive. The marketing, improved marketing, I see a lot of people who said we need improved marketing. I don't know if I agree with that wholeheartedly. Right now, everyone knows Louisiana shrimp is the best shrimp on the market. So I don't know if we need to improve marketing. Like I say, anyone who knows anything about shrimp knows that Louisiana produces the best shrimp in the country. Other than that, that's about all I wanted to talk on. I don't want to keep the mic.
Okay, the only bad thing, Angela Porche, the only bad thing about, like, they come to Louisiana and they think they're eating Louisiana shrimp, but they're not. So that's the only bad thing about that. But like some of the restaurants, they are, you know, but like the franchise restaurants, they're not. So I wish we could do something in that area, like Olive Garden and Applebee's, but I don't know if that'll ever happen, you know, so.
I've got 1,000 questions I could ask you, but I know that I can't. You know, so we're going to move on, and I'm going to turn it back over to Nicole.
Thank you, Earl. And now we're going to move on to our last question. So, what is needed to ensure that there's a sufficient workforce to sustain the future of your industry? The poll is open, and this is another one, choose all that apply. So do you think A, training opportunities, B, vocational education, C, incentives for new fishermen, D, journeyman certifications, E, leadership programs, F, seasonal worker legislation, or G, other? What do you think would help sustain the future of the seafood industry? Looks like we have about 55 responses, so we're still waiting on some more. All right, looks like we have about everybody responded, so if you haven't responded yet, please do so. And I'll be closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. So it looks like there's some of you who strongly think that incentives for new fishermen would help sustain the workforce. And then there's quite a few who think that a little bit of everything would help. You know, increasing the training opportunities available, vocational education, leadership programs, changing seasonal worker legislation, and then there are some others who apparently have some new ideas that aren't up there. So I'm going to turn it back over to our panel so they can discuss.
This question is a standalone question in terms of getting a discussion. That's why we're just going to leave it up there. And I'm just going to turn it over to the panel. When you look at what's up there, what can you say about it?
Rodney Olander. The biggest one I see here is C, incentives for new fishermen. I may want to add to that. Instead of having incentives for new fishermen, it should also have incentives to keep the old fishermen. Yeah. Can I get an amen? Okay.
It's as recorded.
Yes. As we know, the majority of fishermen are middle-aged. So that's what we need. Like I say, that goes back to one of the things we were speaking with in Washington about a fish bill, trying to get the government to get a fish bill to help out our industry. Back when we was there in January, we was in Congressman Higgins' office, and I was there with processors, dock buyers, fishermen, LSA was there, a bunch of us there. We were well represented, and everyone was talking with Congressman Higgins, and they was telling them how bad the industry was. The industry is dying. If y'all don't help us, our industry is dying. And after about 15 minutes of speaking with them, that's all you really get is 15, 20 minutes. You got to say what you got to say, and you got to get out. Well, when we got done, I went to Congressman Higgins, and I told him, I said, look, I have to agree with most what everyone was saying, but I said they're mistaken. I said our industry is not dying. I said where they missed was our industry is dead. I said we're here, we're bringing you the paddles. I'm handing you the paddles. I want you to take these paddles and take them to our president and tell our president to shock some life back into our industry. I say if you can do that, I say we'll make it. None of us left out of there giving up. I'm still not giving up. Is there a lot of hope? Right now, I'm not seeing a lot of hope. I don't have a lot of courage, but it don't mean I'm giving up. There's a lot of people I don't think they are giving up, because when you give up, what else do you do? At my age, if I gave up fishing, what would I go and do? There's not many opportunities out there for a middle-aged, good-looking fellow like myself. Well, I really embarrassed my wife on that one.
She
Yeah, I know, I see her right there, where she's cutting me some eyes, so maybe I shouldn't have said that. But anyhow, like I said, the incentives for new fishermen, like I say, I would like to see incentives to keep the old fishermen in this industry, because we still have a lot of good years left in us. And like I said, I'm not ready to hang it up just yet, but like I said, that was just one of the things I really wanted to touch on. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Such a quiet bunch. Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
I mean, we could speak really. I know all of you could for hours on all of this. What I'm going to do right now is give Patrick Banks with Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries a few moments to speak. And then after that, it'll be Julie Lively. Also, once Patrick and Julie have had an opportunity to speak, I am going to give the panel the last word. So I'll give you all each a couple of minutes if you'd like to have any parting words of wisdom to us. All right? So Patrick, it's yours.
Sure, just a few thoughts on what I've heard today, and I appreciate the insight that you all have given us. But well, I guess I'll start with telling Rodney, I think you've already found a new profession, aren't you, in politics these days?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, I am.
But you know, a lot of what I'm hearing today is not unlike what we heard from a larger contingent of meetings that we had all around the coast during the Louisiana Seafood Future Project. And it's, you know, basically we're struggling. Imports are hurting. We need some assistance. We need some help. I can say that when I've been in Washington as well with your industry, with the shrimp industry, with the oyster industry, the messages were quite clear from Washington is that funds are tight. I think with the current fisheries disaster, I think that's pretty clear. Certainly funding is tight at the state level to help as well. But I think where we as the government can help is to help find the options for industries to move forward. And that's what we're trying to do without funding, just simply try to make the environment, the business environment, more conducive for what you guys are doing. And so there's not a lot of options out there, I have to admit, but things like helping you guys to find new places to fish, maybe even new species to fish for. And then when we do get that little bit of federal funding, try to use that funding in the best way to make those options a reality for you guys. And so I just don't see anything that we can do from a governmental standpoint to say, hey, this is going to solve your issue outside of maybe some import help. I think that's one of the biggest things that government can help with. But outside of that, it's going to be little steps along to try to make the business climate better for you guys to make your own decisions. And so that's what we're trying to focus on at Wildlife and Fisheries these days is listen to the ideas that you guys have and figure out where in those ideas we can help move them forward. And so, you know, I'm just, it does concern me of what I'm hearing. It reminds me a lot of my upbringing in the farming community. I didn't see a lot of hope from my father, so I knew that's not the way I was going to go. I wanted to go that way, but so the fact that you guys want to be in it and listening to Angela say that she has hope gives me hope, because I don't know that there's that many folks in the industry who want to give that to their children, and so I commend you for that. And so I hope that we can all find a way to give encouragement to the younger generation. I know there's younger generation folks out there. I've seen them on the water. I've interacted with a few of them. Getting them to these kinds of forums would be helpful. Getting them to take on some of these more leadership roles, something that Shallon is doing, is a great thing for us to see with our agency. We stand ready to work with the new generation as well, even if it's just a few folks. Knowing that we don't want to push Rodney into more politics, but we certainly are glad to see a few of the other ones. So those are just my thoughts on what I've heard today, and I appreciate the input. It's very helpful to us.
Thank you, Patrick.
So part of my role, so first I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. That alone is a step in trying to figure out how to keep the industry going. I was asked just to highlight a little bit of what Sea Grant has done. Louisiana Sea Grant's been active for over 50 years now in Louisiana, trying to do a variety of projects. And usually what we try to get from you guys is what you need. Commercial viability, alternative species, what are other things you can do, technology transfer, especially the things coming out of the university, or even just other industries, how can we get that in Louisiana and get it to help you guys? Seafood farmers markets, all of the certifications that our seafood specialists have done, from the good manufacturing processes, HACCP, trying to help make sure people are certified. The recent switch of an entire sector to a new federal agency of catfish moving to USDA. Evelyn worked really hard to make sure that we could keep all those processors going. Economic feasibility studies with our economists, hopefully even some things you may never have heard of because the economics showed it was a terrible idea. So trying to prevent some of those maybe before they started. High school programs, getting people from northern Louisiana to realize there is a coast and something to do on the coast. For the H-2B workers, the prevailing wage, what comes out of DC isn't what always matches what's actually happening here. And so our agents have helped with that in the past. Permitting on a lot of different things. I don't envy any of you that have ever had to deal with the permitting at the state and definitely not at the federal level. And so our legal team tries to at least help with understanding that process for a variety of things. When we can, some of the seafood moving to direct seafood, but as Rodney said, it's important that, we still need seafood in all of the different sectors, going to the docks, going to the processors, and Louisiana Fisheries Forward, which is holding this whole summit today. So we're trying to figure out now, and that's part of what today was, to figure out what we can still keep doing to keep helping in the future. And I know across our Sea Grant group, everyone has a bunch of different ideas. But I want to highlight one of the programs that we're hoping to start, partly because I know I also stand between you and a large door prize announcement. So, you've seen, we're hoping to kick off this year. So I've heard the Farm Bill mentioned, I've heard the government. We're looking to start a seafood-specific leadership program. So this would be built off of, if any of you know more in the ag world, LSU has a really strong ag leadership program since the early 1980s. It's been going very strong, and so we're hoping to work with them to start a smaller, it's a full 2-year investment, a smaller program to help our industry specifically. And part of the idea is that it will be designed for anyone in seafood, because I think some of the beauty of that program is it gets the actual producers in the room, but it also gets the buyers in the room. It also gets lending and crediting in the room, as well as some of the management, so that everyone kind of gets a chance to chat about the different problems and come up with some of the solutions of what could be done beyond just everyone sitting in their own group. So we're hoping to kick that off. We do have some flyers and sign up, I think, under the door prize is over there on top of the trash can. But we will hopefully have applications and a lot more of the specifics coming out very soon. So I'd encourage you to at least sign up, give us your contact information. Because the goal of all of this really, so the goal of our leadership program really is to try and help get those effective communicators. I've heard government going to DC, reducing regulations mentioned over and over today. And so having people that can network across the industry, go with a voice to DC, go to the regulators, wherever it needs to help get the people that might maybe have the money someday, or at least control the money to understand what's going on for your industry. So that's really kind of the goal of the program, to help facilitate that how we can through Sea Grant. And so I'll be around after answering questions as well.
And for the record, that was Julie Lively with Louisiana Sea Grant.
Sorry.
Didn't follow the rules.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Julie. So our next steps, there will be a summary of the polling in the panel, and you should expect that to be out on the Louisiana Sea Grant website sometime in April this year. We will also have a video with transcription of today's panel and the polling, and you can expect that sometime in May. We will continue to refine our outreach on workforce development through Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, the LSU Ag Center, and Louisiana Sea Grant. Now, the moment, I know you've all been, not right? Oh, before you leave the room, please make sure you return the clickers.
One more thing too, you got the final comment.
Right, that's what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
While our master is coming up with the raffle tickets, I am going to open it up to our panel. If you have any final words you would like to say, don't forget to state your name.
Okay, my name is Angela Portia. I just want to thank Sea Grant for putting all this together and just trying to stay involved and help us in whatever issue we have for all of our different industries. Thank y'all very, very much. Appreciate it.
It's our privilege to serve you.
Rodney Olander. I just want, as everyone knows, I'm not really that big of a talker. I don't really like to talk, as I'm sure a lot of y'all have noticed. I'm really pretty shy. I mean, I don't talk a lot, but I'll pay for that one also. I just want to say, I don't want anyone to give up. We're not quitting. We're fighting for the industry. Like I say, I've been to Washington twice already this year. I plan to go again. I plan on making phone calls to them also. So all I want to say is don't give up. We're fighting for the industry. You need to stay involved. You need to join organizations like LSA. LSA is a great organization to join. They really fight for the fishermen. They do a lot. So if y'all hadn't joined LSA yet, I wish that y'all would. Let's see here. Like I said, when I was in Washington last week, I spoke with some of the congressmen. They assured me they are working on some things. They didn't want to go into details to tell me what they were working on exactly, but for me to just stay in touch with them, and I plan to do that. So, like I say, in closing, I want to thank Nicole for wrangling me into this that I didn't want to do, but I've done it anyhow. And I just want to thank everyone for coming out. Thank you.
Yes, Stephen Watson. I'd just like to say that as a fisherman, I really enjoy fishing and learning how to fish. It took years to really learn how to survive fishing, and it was very enjoyable, and you fall in love with it, as I'm sure most of you are that fish on a commercial level. It's challenging, it's stressful, it's wonderful, it's all of the above, and we want it to continue here in South Louisiana. Mr. Patrick Banks had mentioned he needed a couple solutions to get us back to the old days, and after the meeting I'd like to meet with you. I have a couple of suggestions. And so I just want to thank Sea Grant for the participation here and to try to help us along. Thank you.
Does anybody have anything else? I'd like to thank you all in the audience, and I'd like to thank our panel for being here today. We really appreciate you coming out today.